Okay. Well, hello.
Hello.
Glad that we can be with you on our monthly live with Didi and Shannon. Hopefully, you're able to join us, and hopefully, our time together will be one of encouragement, particularly for our friends and folks that are part of our church family at Mount Carmel Christian Church. We're glad you're with us. Well, I want to take this time since we last talked. Shannon and I always discuss what is we want to talk about, and there's a lot going on in our lives. There's a lot going on in our community, a lot going on within the church, a lot going on with our state and our nation. Just some overwhelming and taxing and heavy stuff, which seems to be the thread that what we've talked about since March, since this whole thing in March. And I don't know about you, sometimes it just feels like the hits keep on coming, and it's like, what's next? But in all of that, something that's really come to me that I think is good for us is that I've seen the hand of God, seen the work of God, and particularly formed in a question that is really from a book I read many years ago. Some of you maybe are familiar with this book called Experiencing God. And in that, the author, Henry Blackaby, asks the question, where's God working? And then he poses the challenge, how do I join him? Now, we like to talk about God with us, and sometimes we really don't take a moment to think about it. What we mean is that God is close, God's a comfort, and that's all true. But a lot of times, I think the better way to phrase that is to understand that the Christian life, a life of faith, is us making the decision to be with God, us seeking our hearts on a daily basis to be open to where God is at work, and then to commit ourselves when he invites us into that work, which he does. We are not only his children, we're invited to be part of his work, but to invites us to be part of that and to live from that aspect of faith. And so just want to take a moment. Shannon and I have kind of spent some time, but I'll share with you where God's working and how it's been joining him in work. And so,
Is that
Shannon,
my question?
that's your question. Where's that God at work, and how have you been joining him? And I mean, we can talk a variety of things.
I think one of the biggest things that I have noticed probably just in the last week or so that I think I shared with you was, wait, what was the question?
Where is God
Where's
working?
God working?
And how can I join?
Well, I'll say this,
Short-term
and
memory
then I'll
issues.
answer that question. I think what I have noticed is a lot of answered prayer. So I guess the answer to that question first is that you and I have had a lot of things to pray for. I'm sure everybody does. We're not unique in that way, but we have just had a lot of things, almost personal things surrounding us, not necessarily our family, but just those in our world, so to speak. And what I have seen has been answered prayer in that. And just maybe I'll just share one without saying any names, but
Person A.
Person A.
Jane Doe. John Doe.
Sure. We received a text from our son about a week or so ago about a teammate who had been involved in
He was a prison guard and had been attacked.
Right. And
severely,
was in pretty bad shape.
Head injuries.
Right.
In a coma.
He asked us to pray for him, and I shared it with several people. I shared it with the church prayer team, and there were several people who had asked me here and there, how is he doing? And we found out, really, I want to say within 2 to 3 days, that he was texting with Christian and a couple of other people, which meant he was coherent, and then he was being transferred to rehab. So that was such a relief. Just really grateful as a mom, thinking about another mom thinking
Well, and he was a young man,
married
young man, two little
family,
girls.
right?
Yeah.
So that was I would think, I know, a big one, but just different things like that, being able to pray for people, pray for those situations, and see those prayers answered.
Mhm.
And I know that it happens. It's not like it's something new that happens, but I think it just kind of felt like last week, especially, it was one right after the other.
Mhm.
And so it just felt really encouraging, and to be a part of that.
Mhm.
But, and to get to share that good news with other people who I knew were praying for him. But another thing that I have been also sharing with you, I kind of unloaded about probably 10 days ago, just so I've been thinking. And what, 30 minutes later, I have just been, I guess maybe from D group studies and conversations that we've had, learning how Jesus met basic needs of people before he, I guess, maybe you can articulate this better for me, but how he met basic needs before he tried to meet their spiritual needs. And, or you could almost say it was one and the same, recognizing that meeting their basic needs was the first step to meeting their spiritual needs. And so just being kind of more in tune with that, I guess, and doing Mark. Our D group just finished Mark, so
not
we're
like she's
really
a
happy
competition or anything, trying to get through it. I don't know.
really happy about that milestone. But yeah, so I think just being aware and thinking about, especially right now, what is happening in our community. And so just thinking about meeting basic needs and what does that look like? Quite honestly, right now, I don't know. I have a couple of ideas, but not really following through on anything right now yet. I still feel like God's kind of, just leading the way in that, I guess. And so just praying about it and sitting tight on the one hand, but also thinking about daily, what that might look like, and whether that's a conversation with someone or that sort of thing. So how about for you?
Oh, well, I think similar to you. There's been so much weighty issues, way beyond the pandemic, way beyond the national debates and the national screaming. Just our people are struggling, and there are people who are struggling from anxiety to fear to depression to some serious health issues that are massively. I mean, it's just one thing after the other, and to see God work and answer prayer. But also, I'm going to just say, in seeing where the requests aren't being answered, yet people stay true.
Yes.
And stay true, and to see God be faithful in that, and them hold on to that faith. Someone said it this way, said, I don't like what looks like to be God's will for my life right now, and I've told him that, but I still believe, and I still hold on to Jesus. But how am I just don't know what to do with this major disappointment and struggle. And I think, that's as real as it gets. That's as real as it gets. And that's where I think biblical faith and Christian faith is all about. We have a tendency to believe that, and some preacher put it this way, our faith tends to be the American dream filled with certainty, and me getting my rights fulfilled, and me getting what I want, and the way I think I should get it, and the way the world should run. We seem to think that our faith is the American dream, but with a little Jesus on. And I've seen more and more folks realizing or coming to understand that faith is trusting in God through his Son, who's given us access so that we might be with him, and just holding on to that because that's all they got. and that's quite humbling and impressive to see. The other aspect is I buzzed through a book. I got a book given to me, and I don't know how I got this, but I ordered it. It's a book by a man named John Eldridge. It's called Get Your Life Back. And it was written before pandemic and before all this craziness, but boy, did it minister to me. It's a very quick read, an easy read. The subtitle is Everyday Practices for a World Gone Mad. And I don't know if your world feels like it's gone mad. But this book was so good in some of the practices that he encourages, like something called a 1 minute pause. We run at such a crazy pace, and I think that's one of the things that pandemic has forced us to say, "Oh, we got to stop. We got to slow down this because we have to." And we've really begun to figuratively and literally smell the roses and enjoy just pauses and enjoy just being. And that's one big thing for me. Another thing was raise an Ebenezer, which means make efforts to remember. Again, I'm such a person that likes to move forward and think ahead that I don't take the time to appreciate the good things that have come in the past, and I don't take moments to savor that. And so that was a good thing to remind me of just God's goodness. And so just
What's an Ebenezer?
an
I'm sure I should
Ebenezer,
know.
Ebenezer was when I
What's that,
think,
Scrooge?
yeah, it's his younger brother. No, Ebenezer is a monument, a stone that's raised in memory. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it's a long day, but the Israelites had had a victory, and I believe it was Joshua said, "Let us raise an Ebenezer. Let's raise a stone to as a memory, so that when everyone saw that stone, they would say, 'What's that stone about?' And everyone would remember, oh, it was because the day the Lord delivered us on this battle from these people." And I think it's important to have that. And if you have tokens in your life that connect you with memories and good things, because it doesn't have to all be quote unquote spiritual things. Memories from a great vacation, memories from a great book, memories from a time of a family member, memories from a spiritual occasion, if it's a piece of a rock or a piece of wood or something significant, a token. Treasure those, hold on to those, go back on those.
So I have a question for you.
Well, I think, let me finish this before you question
I
me.
thought you were finished.
But one of the things, like, take the
Sorry.
moment to go back on your pictures on your phone and look back and see those pictures that you took and remember what was happening there and savor that in doing that. That was something that I think was really good. So, what is your question, Shannon?
Please excuse Zeke. Someone must be home.
Someone's coming home, so you might hear Zeke
Right.
barking. Yes.
My question is, how do you 1 minute pause? Because isn't that part of what it is? A 1 minute pause?
Well, you take
So-
moments in the day to make a pause. So, for
Okay.
instance, for me, a 1 minute pause is on the drive to work. If I drive into the office, I take a moment, play classical music, and I just try not to
I
go.
have been hearing that more in the car. Like, what's going on?
And just to drive with the window open instead of the AC as much as possible, although it's tougher today.
Which I prefer anyway.
I know. And to enjoy the smells and sounds, to take a moment to just appreciate God, to maybe quote a favorite scripture, to say some things that remind you God is with you. Instead of just going one thing to the other, take strategic moments to take 60 seconds to just pause, breathe, recall, center. I hate that term, but that's basically what you're doing. You're just focusing on that.
Refocusing.
Refocusing and focus on our Lord. And this might be a time to say, Lord, where are you working? And help me to be available to join you where at that work. That would be a good moment to do that. So in the morning, certain rhythm points in your day. We do it in one way. We kind of take a pause over a cup of tea together. And we do that in the morning. We do it in the afternoon. That's just some of our rhythms that we do. So
I like to sit on the back porch and watch the animals and the birds. And
yeah,
sometimes I do that just on my own
yeah.
as well. I might take a extra cup of tea.
Well, I think get outside, feel the
Yes,
grass,
yeah.
sit around and look at the clouds. When was the last time you looked at the clouds going over and imagined the animals that they were in? Where sit in the backyard and watch the hummingbirds fight, or the rabbits in if you have those, or whatever opportunity you can to just make connection with the beauty that God has put all around us, so that you may be reminded that God is at work and that he invites us to join him with us. And I see that's just for me what it's all coming back around for that.
I think something else that we're careful about, if I may.
Sure,
Jump
sure.
in?
I mean,
Am I
this is your
interrupting?
show. This is your show. Your world. I just live in it, honey.
Right. Something else that we kind of do as a family, it's a pact. We're very careful about what we discuss at certain times. We're very careful about
No politics until after
before
9:30
9:30 a.m.
or controversial issues.
But I heard that Christian was the one who started that rule, and he's not here because he's back at school. So I'm hearing that's off the table now. But anyway, another thing is we don't have the news on. We're very careful about what we read, because I think we can overexpose ourselves to what's going on, and I think we have to be responsible and guard what we're watching, guard our hearts, guard what we're taking in.
Well, and I mean, he has a great point. How do you feel after you've spent 30 to 40 minutes by the time you're finished just mindlessly scrolling, mindlessly reading social media, mindlessly getting into all the things that you're getting all heart and head? How do you really feel? Do you really feel closer to God? Do you really feel more attuned to his promptings? Do you really feel uplifted? Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't.
We can't negate what's
we
happening
shouldn't check.
and going on.
Right.
We
you
have
and
to be
I
aware.
talk about, I'm constantly looking at the COVID numbers. I'm constantly evaluating the numbers. I'm constantly looking at that because it's part of being attuned to what I'm called to do in this moment. But I can't get too much into that. And honestly, if I don't control that, or have that be a tool as opposed to a master, or a servant instead of a master, it really does drain me. It makes me groggy. It makes me grumpy. It makes me less likely to be open to where God's at work and have me be available to join him in that.
I know I can get more anxious for sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, and I think that's something that. So I really encourage you, if you want. The book is, a little book, and I know Tim Peace got it online for $3, and you can read it online too on your tablet or whatever. I encourage you to have a look at that. But that's something that I've really enjoyed in doing that. We just wanted to take a moment to talk with you, touch base with you. If you have something you want to share, if you'd like to share where God's working and where you see God's working in your life, go ahead and put that down in the comments. Go ahead and share that. It's just such a blessing to not only Shannon and I when we read it, but I'll tell you, everyone else that reads it gets to see that. And we need to be in the business right now of just sharing everything that's good, helping others see where God's at work, and just encouraging one another, because that's what we're called to do as a family of faith. That's what we're called to do. That's why we gather to church, so that we might prompt one another on for love and good deeds. And that's more than just Sunday. This is a form of gathering as we speak around Facebook and this medium. Glad everyone is, hopefully everyone's doing well. We're coming up to September. There's some changes in terms of school is coming up for many in the communities. Let's be praying for our teachers and school officials and people. So take care.